everyone, and a very warm welcome to you all. I'm Rihanna Dillon, and it is my honour this evening to be your guide as we pull the threads of this iconic Sky original show and see what materialises before our eyes. Over the past 4 calendar years, A Discovery of Witches has been one of the most successful dramas on Sky, gaining an amazingly dedicated and passionate fan base, both in the UK but also globally through AMC in the USA and other broadcasters the world over. And we're here tonight to say thank you to you, the fans who have been with us every step of the way. So lock your doors, dim those lights. We are venturing into the world of our favourite witches, vampires, and demons. It begins with absence and desire. It begins with blood and fear. It begins with a discovery of witches. Did I do that right? Over the next 60 magical minutes, we are beaming some of the much-loved cast directly into your homes, talking about the characters they portray, looking at some of their best and most memorable moments, and Teresa Palmer, who portrays Diana Bishop, will be dropping in all the way from Adelaide to join us a little later as well. Now, an important spoiler alert for all of our international fans watching. The last episode hasn't aired in some countries yet, so be prepared to hear us talking about and showing some of the final episode tonight, because we'll be discussing the show in its entirety, which of course includes the incredible final episode. Now, don't forget to use the hashtag A Discovery of Witches on any messages you send throughout the evening tonight, because our special guests want to answer as many of your questions as we can get through. So get typing, and don't forget to put who your question is for and also your name if you'd like. Lastly, the content that we're discussing and showing tonight isn't for little ones, so please make sure anyone like that is out of ear and eye shot. So, who are the special guests joining us tonight? Let us convene our very own congregation, welcomed by character for now: Peter Knox, Gilbert Doriac, Sarah Bishop, Emily Mather, Gallo Glass, and executive producer for this incredible show, Lachlan McKinnon. And of course, our panel wouldn't be complete without the lovely Diana Bishop, played by Teresa Palmer, who'll be joining us all the way from Adelaide. So stay with us, as there is lots to come. Hello to you all. Now, I would absolutely love to start with Lachlan, if I may, executive producer from Bad Wolf, who helped bring this show to life. Welcome, Lachlan. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you very much.
Excellent. Now, A Discovery of Witches is an adaptation taken from the All Souls trilogy written by Deborah Harkness. Here is a big, all-encompassing question. How did the show make the successful journey from page to screen?
Well, I think, first of all, a big thanks has to go to Sky, because when Jane Tranter first pitched the series, it was immediately picked up. So there was no time lost there, and that isn't always the case. I think Sky could really see the vision behind the adaptation, and that, of course, starts with a great story on the page. And I have to take a moment to thank Deb Harkness for writing this really beautiful trilogy, which is so rich at its heart. And I also just want to say, Deb's having a few health issues at the moment, and unfortunately can't be with us tonight. So on behalf of us all, we would like to send our love and support. But so much of what we do in bringing the series from the page to the screen starts with the writing. So I think first we had to work very closely with the writers on season 1, and that was headed by Kate Brooke, and work out how to break those 600 plus pages down into the 8 episodes. And that's a huge challenge to set up this world for the audience in light of the many rules of the world. So that, I think, was in the first instance one of the biggest challenges, and that involved really looking at the story and bringing some of the material, which was much later on in the book. For example, when Marcus tries to sire one of his friends, he fails, and that was just really important in terms of setting up the rules of the world. We all, loved the fact that the series was a contemporary fantasy. And our creatures are all hiding in plain sight. So we wanted to make sure that it felt grounded and in an authentic world. And when it comes to the tone of the series, it's just really important to get everything lining up. So once the scripts had been written, we started just to dig into the next level of that with our director, Juan Carlos Medina, who directed episodes 1 and 2. But I guess casting also was a huge part in the process. And I think the fact everyone really connected with the themes of the novel it really made the series stand apart. And when I talk about the themes, it's that kind of exploration of how society can often let itself down just because of the prejudice that just people don't always feel connected with each other. But I think the magic of what the trilogy was saying was doing that in such a fun and engaging way. And
Absolutely. I
also, I
mean,
mean,
it's
just
something that I. Oh, go on. Sorry.
no, I was just going to say, I think obviously that part of the challenge as well in bringing it to the screen is the fact that the novels have got a huge scale to them as well, and we
Mm,
wanted to respect that because quite often you don't have the budget to travel to places like Oxford, to Venice, to Septours
yeah.
in France. So I think that was just another really important part of it.
And to the Elizabethan age, I mean, talk about scale. That was incredible. The design elements for that is something that I really would love to focus on. So tell us about those details that just immersed us so well in the 1500s when Diana and Matthew time walk.
Well, it's such an amazing moment in history, and it's one that I wasn't too familiar with before reading the novels. And again, the worlds and paths often lead back to their partners because we went on a tour of London with Deb back in the early days of prep because she's a historian, one of the preeminent Elizabethan historians. So we went out with James North, who was a production designer and just did the most amazing job in recreating Elizabethan London. So I think that's just one of the most important aspects in terms of being authentic to the novels and also being authentic to that moment in time. And that involves obviously quite a long research trip and quite a lot of notes during the whole development process, even down to going to the National Portrait Gallery with our costume designer, Sarah Arthur, who just did the most amazing work. But that isn't always the starting point. Is looking at the paintings of the day to make sure that we're not being anachronistic and finding something that feels fresh and special.
Let's take a look at some of those amazing design skills at work, the costume, the VFX, everything. I just forgotten how beautiful it is from start to finish. We unfortunately we have to move on, but before we go, I need to see this incredible book that you have with you. Can we take a look at the Book of Life?
Sure. It's a
I can't
little treat
believe you
here.
have this.
It's the very Ashmole manuscript itself. So it's, it's a work of art, really. And the detail
Wow.
inside is phenomenal. And it also smells quite considerably because it's been sitting on a shelf for a very long time. And
Oh my,
obviously it
and
took a
because it's
while
made from
for
creatures.
absolutely creatures game. But yeah, there's loads of really intricate designs in here. And you can see it, some of which you'll recognize, the alchemical child. So there's so much to do.
Goodness.
But I mean, I think it's such a, all of the clips you've just been watching, it's so much about the creative team, and that's the directors, the directors of photography, costume, makeup, VFX supervisors, location managers, everyone, makeup, it's just everyone involved in the creative team. So I think, all we've done is a testament to that.
Incredible. Now, let's take a look at someone who was very keen to get his hands on that book.
If this book is what I think it is, it contains the witch's first spells. It could tell us how we created vampires. If we created them, then we could uncreate them.
Where'd you come from, witch?
was this assertive?
The equinox gives me an edge.
Diana, don't walk away. I need the book.
Get out of my head! You always fight for Diana.
Surrender the page.
You will avenge me. You can't control me anymore.
Beware the witch with the blood of the lion and of the wolf.
Peter Knox, you are no longer a member of the congregation.
No!
And you must remove yourself from this island and never return here.
Welcome, Owen Teale, who plays the very scary Peter Knox. Hi.
Hi.
Owen, what was it about Peter Knox's character? What drew you to him? I mean, presumably it wasn't because of his warm and friendly persona.
Well, there's a couple of things. When you play a character that is so clear and absolute in his intentions, and that he'll stop at nothing, you know it's going to head to some fantastic drama, and he's going to be thrust at various points into the center of the story, and he's going to be a huge obstacle to what we want to see happen, which is, I guess, humanity in all its forms, in creature form as well. You know, the decency and the heroism of Diana, and she's going to come up against this huge block. And I just hope that I don't let anybody down, because as we've just heard about all the creativity that's gone into this, and the best science fiction, I think, bridges beautifully from reality as we know it. And that's what Deb was able to do, steeped as she is in so many years of wonderful historian devotion. And therefore, when she goes back to the late 16th century, or whether it's contemporary, the facts that she can bring into it that are there, such as the book that we've just seen, and what power this may have. And the fact that Bad Wolf were going to do it, Jane Tranter was going to do it so big and bold and beautiful, and Sky were there, you know, in this partnership, and they had the wherewithal to make this happen. I mean, of course I'm going to say yes. Of course I am. And I get to do Witchwind, which is still one of my favorite things ever. What does that say about me? I just love it. Been blown across the room by a woman. That's fantastic. Thrown.
You are an absolutely perfect Peter Knox, by the way. But also,
I'm not sure how to take that.
You're a brilliant actor, Owen, is what I'm saying.
Thank you.
Peter has interactions with loads of different characters, actually. But what is his obsession and his relationship like with Diana?
Well, because he knows that really she's the only one that has the power to unlock the book, that the book will relate to and open to. You know, it's a beautiful metaphor in her naivety at the beginning, in her innocence, that we want to believe that is the path to true enlightenment. And there she is. And it's so beautifully realized by Teresa, because it never hangs about in a self-conscious, sanctimonious way. You know, she's a live woman, and he desperately needs the power. You know, he's not a great believer in democracy. You got to get these people out of the way. Otherwise, we're not going to get progress. And progress for him is to go back to a place of having the greatest power as witches, and not having to suffer under the as he sees it, the greater power of particularly the vampires.
I mean, he wasn't a natural.
No.
With his ability, he wasn't a natural like Diana, and he kind of relies on this clever little object to magnify his power. So let's take a look at Peter in action.
Why didn't you tell me you tested Diana Bishop? You missed her power. How could you have?
Inca. Stirred to motion. Rests what is and what shall be. Inhala. Rest all things that be. I brought you here to serve as my ally, not to look up information and use it against me. In the Salem trials, when a witch refused to plead, humans crushed them to death with weights. Shall I treat you as a human would?
God, he's so evil. So Peter he's ousted from the congregation. The world that he's built up around himself is disintegrating. What is happening to him internally? Why does this mark such an extreme downward spiral?
Well, he gets caught in a loop, and I think it is a well-worn sort of cliche that if you repeat the same action ad infinitum and keep expecting a different result, that's almost an equation of insanity, which is where I think we end up with Peter. He can't stop trying to get this book. It's too late to go back. He's burnt all his bridges. He can't plead with other people. He's tried to manipulate. He's tried to cajole. And now he has to use every ounce of his power. And that side of Peter I really like, because there's an honesty to him. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's something compelling about somebody who believes so absolutely. They're scary. They're very scary people. And that's very attractive to play,
Mm-hmm. I mean, thankfully, he didn't win. He was defeated by members of a family he had a long history with, let's say. Let's have a look at Your Day of Reckoning.
Oh.
You don't have the power!
I have a spell. Come the wind! Capture the dark! Bring the darkness to an end! Scatter him to the corners of the earth!
No!
For Stephen! For Rebecca! For Em.
Welcome, Alex Kingston, who plays Sarah Bishop, and Valerie Pettiford, aka Emily Mather. I mean, Peter Knox defeated by kitchen witches. Incredible. Owen, are you still holding a grudge?
I love it. Kitchen witches.
It's a great line.
It is a great line.
We're gonna let you go and lick your wounds for a moment.
That's
Owen,
what you called us.
Okay, I take it back.
Let's take a look back at Sarah and Emily's story before coming to you both.
Did you see anything? A man in the shadows, following her.
What are you doing?
Hanging around with a vampire. He could feed off you, take your memories.
You remember the stories your mom told you when you were little? The shadow prince that lived between sunset and moonrise?
The dark. Oh, I'm patient. Go after Knox with a carving knife.
Maybe you should have.
If it was torn from the book, it's no wonder that the magic was damaged. Do you remember what happened the last time you got into higher magic?
I'm much more experienced now.
You can't do this to me.
Emily.
Oh my God, it's working. No. Wake up, please.
Twice blessed.
What are they? Witch? Vampire?
We send you on your next journey.
Your children are going to be very special.
This is witch business.
Come the wind!
For Em.
Sarah and Emily are such a beautiful, strong couple. Alex, why do you think their personalities and power are so compatible?
Well, I think for a start, it begins with casting. Actually, casting two women who are going to obviously be right for the characters, but also you want two actresses who are going to be able to have charisma and have a bond, and the moment that Valerie and I met, we knew that this was a friendship that was going to last forever, off screen as well as on screen.
It's so lovely to see the both of you reunited again. Valerie, what is it about Emily that makes her the yin to Sarah's yang, if you like?
Oh my God. First of all, yes, the chemistry between Alex and I, because I was also a huge fan of hers beforehand. So you always hope that your idols are wonderful on off screen as well as on. And folks, yes, she is the best thing ever. So as far as your question is concerned, Emily is the softer side to Sarah. She is the cream in her coffee. She is, the more tender to, Sarah's passion and force and stuff like that. I mean, that's why Em loves Sarah, is because she's a go-getter and she doesn't mince words, and she's so passionate and true and loving, and just Emily just softens those edges.
You're the sugar to my acid.
Yes.
I love this chemistry. I want to devastate all of us and take a look at the moment that shocked us and changed Sarah's life forever.
Understand this. There will be dark times and great losses, but the book will change everything.
Rebecca.
Once it's completed, the book is going to reveal itself.
But we only have this page. How do we complete it? Where are the other pages?
You're in danger. He wants the page.
Bring it back.
Never.
Give me the page.
Go to hell. You're so consumed with power and greed. You lost your soul to the darkness.
Surrender the page.
I am not afraid of you, Peter. I will always fight for Diana. She will always come first.
She abandoned you.
She will be back. She will be more powerful than you can imagine.
The page!
Diana will unite all creatures against bigots like you. And she will avenge me.
Oh God, so devastating. Alex, Sarah had to deal with that harrowing shock of Emily being killed by Peter Knox whilst using higher magic, and you would always butt heads about that. What is it about higher magic that is so destructive?
Well, as you can see, it's incredibly dangerous if it's in the wrong hands, and it's also something that Sarah knew from her and Emily's past. It became addictive. And it was something that Emily had to kind of work incredibly hard to wean herself off, almost like a kind of a drug. And so Sarah, knowing the history and the past of M's dealings with with higher magic, I think she was so terrified of where M would go and what that higher magic would involve. Even though actually towards the end M persuades Sarah to join her, and that actually what she's doing is to further their need to find out about the pages and to sort of further their cause. She knew that taking that step was incredibly dangerous.
Valerie, ultimately, how powerful is the message about love when it comes to the story of Sarah and Emily?
You don't get any better than this. I mean, oh my God. I wish, as Valerie, I had that love story. Oh my God. Well, I mean, Deb really wrote a beautiful love story, and to be able to realize it on the screen. And once again, I can't imagine doing this without Alex. I cannot imagine doing this without her. And so to show that love, to show that yin and yang, to show that opposites attract, to show the power of love and their love for Diana, and what lengths people would go through to save a life, to maintain this family unit. And M knew what she was getting involved in. Yes, it was a drug to her, and if you know anything about addiction or whatever, it's like you all rhyme and reasons goes out of the window, and you have to get it. But always underneath was for Diana, and she knew that this was necessary, those pages, to realize what was needed, and she was going to do, and ended up sacrificing her life for it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Alex and Valerie. Now, you inhabit this incredible house, but one vampire that your house will always want to leave out in the cold is Gerbert. That's my seg. Do you enjoy that? Here he is in action.
The witches on the congregation are plotting for more power. Even the demons have become unruly. We used to rule with an iron fist.
There are two powerful witches here. One light, the other dark. Beware the witch with the blood of the lion and the wolf, for with it she shall destroy the children of the night. I've been trying to decipher that prophecy for longer than you can imagine. Nick Baldwin is protecting his brother and the Bishop Witch. He's gone too far. I agree. And if we can prove it, we could remove him from the congregation. It would throw the de Clermonts into chaos.
Trevor Eve, welcome. Now,
hi there.
Gerbert is such a complex character who harbours this feud which has gone on for centuries with the de Clermonts. Tell us more about those complexities.
Well, most of us only have a lifetime to get bitter and twisted. Gerbert d'Aurillac has had over 1,000 years, since 982 when he was Pope. So he's had centuries to be consumed with hatred for the de Clermonts, because he was deposed as being head of the vampires by Philippe de Clermont probably only 500 years ago. So he really has a long time to have got full of hatred and consumed with venom.
He really knows how to play the long game and also is possibly
Yes.
the least trustworthy character. What are some of the most surprising alliances that he forms?
Well, I don't know that he sees them as alliances. He just really uses anybody that he can at any time. He's a very lonely. I did feel very lonely playing Gerbert because he's got no friends. Nobody really likes Gerbert, and all he does is really have a go at other people. So I thought he was quite a lonely person and a little sad, but I don't want to get sentimental about him. He also lived in a palazzo and drank red wine. Unfortunately, none of those characteristics have rubbed off on me at all.
The perfect choice, clearly. Now let's take a look at Gerbert in a shocking scene that sums up the lengths that he will go to get what he wants.
In nome Patri, Filii, Spiritus Sancti.
Beware the witch with the blood of the lion and the wolf.
I'm in a
But with
head in a
it,
box.
she shall destroy the children of the night.
It actually makes my hair stand up on end. It's amazing.
Oh, bless
So
you.
tell us about
I felt sorry. I mean, with
Meridiana.
the fact that Meridiana had been in that box for centuries, I felt sorry for the actor who'd been in the box with everything beneath the table for a couple of days. You know, so yeah, that was. There is for me a funny story about Meridiana. One of the producers came on the set the day that we had that all set up, and she was concerned. She said, I don't know whether this is just going too far. You know, it's a little far-fetched. And I looked at her and I said, I'm playing 1,000-year-old vampire. We're in that world. It really is inconsequential whether there's a person, a head in a box, you know. But yeah, she's not in the book, if I recall. Is that correct?
I think she is, but
She is?
I don't want to say exactly our
Sorry, I don't
relationship for
want to
those who are still
expose you for
yet
not
to
having read the
read the
books.
book. I know. Now, with Gerbert, for all of his power and treachery, he has this unique stillness about him. So, what did you want to bring to his physicality?
It was the red socks. I because he was Pope, I found the company that makes the Pope's socks, les des chaussettes rouges, and in Paris. And my one request to the wonderful costume department was that could I please wear the socks made by the Pope sock makers, the red ones. Whether that made me still or not, I don't know. I just that he you know, vampires were meant to move really fast. They had the strength of I don't know how many men. I felt that he didn't really have to do anything. And Juan Carlos Medina, the first director, gave me a wonderful note when I was calling to someone who'd walked out of the room, and he said, "You don't have to call because you can hear everything, and you don't have to shout. You don't have to do anything because your senses are so highly developed." So I guess I don't know. Maybe he's like a sort of pigeon. You know, pigeons can see everything in fractions of a second. So maybe for him, he didn't need to move fast. It's a pigeon
Gerbert, the
vampire.
pigeon-like diva. I love it. What a great description. He's certainly a force to be reckoned with. And I'm sure we're going to have questions from the audience later in the show for you.
Okay.
And again, to our wonderful fans watching live, I mean, the comments are really blowing up. Thank you, everyone who's got in touch already. We're coming to you very soon. Please add more comments and questions. We're going to get through as many as we can. Now, a character whose love has spanned the centuries of time. He's a loyal relative, he's a tortured soul. It's Gallowglass. Let's take a look.
One day I'll beat you to it.
My nephew, Gallowglass.
A witch, taking her ease in your parlour.
My husband's changed a lot.
But now you're mated. What rages Haldot's control? If provoked, he will struggle to contain himself. I think I can get into the Kunstkammerhaus. And the book must be in there somewhere. If I can steal it, we can all get out of here before Rudolph even knows it's gone. It wasn't there. But I found something else. Rudolph's secret collection.
Nice dragon.
She's a fire drake. Philippe asked me to look out for you and make sure that you made your way to Matthew.
You would have waited centuries.
I did it gladly.
Stephen Cree, it's so great to have you here tonight. Thank you for joining us. Now,
thank you.
Tell us about Gallowglass's complicated history with Matthew and why you were the right person to play him.
Why I was the right person to play him, I don't know. You'd have to ask the people that make the decision of who they cast. But you know, I guess I did an audition and they saw something that was right for Gallowglass. You know, his complicated, and it is complicated. You know, his loyalty to Matthew and to the Claremonts is complicated by his extreme dislike of Philippe, Matthew's father. But despite this, he'll put his life on the line and do anything for Matthew, and actually still do anything for Philippe, which includes taking this vow of looking after, you know, waiting 400 years until Diana is born after he's already met her to watch over her from afar, which I think is taking loyalty very, very seriously.
It is a bit of a mind bender, isn't it? How much was Gallowglass burdened by those 400 years, those events you were just talking about?
I mean, I like to think he still managed to have some fun in those 400 years and was able to relax sometimes. But, you know, clearly as we discover, he's harboring or trying to suppress a love for someone that he's met that he knows he's not going to see for another 400 years. And obviously when the Matthew from the future went back to the future and then the Matthew from his time came back, I guess he would have had to keep that secret from Matthew as well. And then you have the added complexity of already being in love with someone who hasn't actually been born. And then you're there from the very beginning of their life and seeing them from childhood. So, which I love about that. I mean, that's a great thing about fantasy. And, you know, it is fantasy and, you know, the normal realm of life. You're never going to go through something like that. And I think anything that makes the conflict greater or adds any sort of complexities to the story make it more interesting.
It is so kind of beautiful and it kind of drove us all wild, I think, this particular scene. Let's look at that moment where you tell Diana the truth that you've kept locked away in your heart for centuries.
You had that same look of determination on your first day at Yale.
What?
Philippe asked me to look out for you.
Look out?
And make sure that you made your way to Matthew.
You would have waited centuries.
I gave him my words.
He had no right to ask that of you.
Diana, I did it gladly.
I'm so sorry.
No. Why have you apologise for something that you had no power to prevent? I knew from the off that you were never meant to be mine.
Oh, Gallowglass. I couldn't have asked for a better guardian.
Philippe de Clermont always did have an unholy ability to give you a job that you couldn't refuse.
Thank you.
But it would cost you a piece of your soul.
Did you hear that sound? It was just a million hearts breaking right there.
Yeah.
It's so lovely to see Gallowglass develop and see him in the past, in the present. I've got a couple of pictures of you. Here is one from season 2. Loving the hair. Tell us about that wig.
I love the wig. You know, actually, there was a choice of 2 wigs. One of them was that one, and the other one was a sort of very blonde. I thought a little more Viking-y looking, but actually it kind of looked like a surfer. And I was really keen on the very blonde surfer one, but fortunately, the powers that be, including probably Lachlan, decided on that one, which actually looked and looks a lot better, and was far more fitting, I think, for Gallowglass. It's a little bit flat in that picture there. Actually, it
It's a little
gained more
bit.
volume. It gained more volume as the season went on, but I loved it.
You're kind of in leather there, but you're in even more leather in the second picture, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that brood. And so this kind
That's
of
blue
development,
steel
facial
with a
hair
beard.
wise, that is, yeah. I mean, are those kinds of things when you're having to grow your hair, change your wardrobe, does that all help to your understanding of the character?
100%. You know, I love having for a start, I love having a beard. I try and work having a beard or stubble into any character I can. I'm actually clean shaven right now for something I was doing today, and I kind of hate being clean shaven. So having a beard like that is the stuff of my dreams. But it definitely having a wig, having for me getting away from what I normally look like on a day-to-day basis, at least makes me think I'm a slightly better and more versatile actor than I probably am. I can grow a beard. I can wear a wig. I can wear this leather jacket. I can wear that leather jacket, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, that's definitely the reason why we all love you. I am absolutely delighted and also afraid that I'm going to break your heart again to be joined by Teresa Palmer, Diana Bishop, our heroine, to the show. Teresa, thank you so much for joining us all the way from Adelaide. We are so pleased you could make it. We have a lot of questions to ask you. Hi there.
Hi, I'm at my dad's house in Adelaide. It's about 7:30 a.m.
Thank you for getting up early. We want to do a very quick spoiler alert to international fans. We are about to see a clip from the final episode and talk to Teresa about Diana fulfilling her destiny. So do beware if you've not seen it yet. Here she is, Diana Bishop in action. Let's take a look.
If you ever come across something magical, you should always try to understand it.
I want to know how powerful you really are. Your family never teach you how to use your magic. You're not just any witch. You're a bishop.
She's branded you.
Did you ever heard anything about me?
They reckon you're a witch.
The long-awaited weaver is among us.
Can be beautiful.
Take your hands off my son.
We're still talking.
Teresa, looking at Diana's journey in that montage, it really hits home the amazing path that her life has taken, some by choice, some forced upon her, and some willingly embraced. What is that like for you to reflect on that journey?
I feel really proud of her evolution as a character. I think when we first meet Diana, she's just a shell of her, who she really is. She's certainly in a world that feels incredibly uncomfortable for her, and she's running away from who she authentically is. And then as she meets Matthew and this story unfolds, she just starts to peel back the many layers of who she is. And it's wonderful to see her step into her power and truly become comfortable with all that she has been given. And I love her. I love watching her from the very beginning and then seeing where she lands in the finale. It's just such an incredible journey, and she's really becomes this fully realized person.
Mhm. And one destiny that she really did embrace was Matthew. So here is a scene of you both to warm the cockles of our hearts.
There's nothing wrong with you, Diana. There never was.
Normally, when you're spellbound, that's it. You're bound for life. Until that person sets you free.
But not you.
No, I think they tied it to need. If I was ever in trouble, I could still call upon my magic. I wouldn't be alone. Matthew, you were in their stories.
The spell was somehow tied to me, too.
To my need for you. They knew I'd fall in love with you.
As we talked about with Alex and Valerie earlier, love is a key thread that we see woven throughout this beautiful story. Let's talk about the love between Diana and Matthew de Clermont, played by Matthew Good, who unfortunately can't be with us because he is working on his next project. So yeah, Teresa, if you could briefly just walk us through their relationship from both sides.
Yeah, look, I think they both sort of feel that they've been hit by a truck when they initially meet. It's so potent, that connection and the love and the depth of those feelings. And it's very complex because it's that typical star-crossed lovers experience where the dark and the light are there equally. So I think it feels animalistic between them. The pull is so strong that it's undeniable. And that's what I think fans really love about it, is it's so passionate and it's so exciting. And it's like, you know, when you fall in love for the first time and it's the butterflies and it's all those big feelings. These guys have that continuously, and they're so drawn to each other. They're so protective of one another, and they know that actually their love and coming together is not just serving their own sense of self and their purpose, it's for the greater good of humanity, so, and for the creatures. So it's a beautiful, incredibly, you know, intoxicating feeling. And I love seeing them together on screen and just seeing how that develops as well. And then in the final season, folding in parenthood, which also shifts up the dynamic as well.
Massively. And also a part of the journey that I think really excites everyone is the bit in Elizabethan London where Diana sort of discovers what type of witch she is and the power that she holds with the help of Goody Alsop, played by none other than Sheila Hancock. Let's take a look at that scene.
Most witches have one element in their blood, and they only see the threads of those elements. So it's easy for them to choose between them. But you saw them all.
Why?
I think you know.
Wind. Water. Earth.
within you. No wonder you're such trouble.
Love that. No wonder you're so much trouble.
I love Sheila Hancock so much. She's unbelievable.
All those four elements there's a lot of power for one person. Did that reveal answer some of the questions that Diana must have had about her identity and that sort of inner turmoil growing up?
Yeah, I can't imagine what it's like to harness all those powers. And I think that's why when we initially meet her, she's not in control of any of them. They're sort of just coming out in all these different ways that feel very unexpected and shocking to her. And so it all makes sense. It's like the penny finally drops. That, oh, she's a weaver. She has the ability to take on all these different elements. And I think it's like just coming into her own and into that knowing and that finally she has some answers, because it's been such a tumultuous experience, I think, from when she lost her family growing up, and just the inner turmoil and conflict that she's felt for so many years. It's all sort of coming together and it all makes sense, and she can start to unpack it in this moment. And it's also exhilarating and exciting. So I think for her, Sheila Hancock and the rest of the Goody Alsop and the rest of the coven really represent a coming home feeling, because she's always been so isolated in her experience. It's felt so alone. And then she meets these other witches, and especially Goody Alsop, who understands all the things that she's had to navigate in her life. And so it's bit part scary, but it's also incredibly empowering at the same time.
One of the best scenes, and it's just so exciting and just, I guess, satisfying, is the scene where Diana becomes the Book of Life. What does that mean? How does she live her life, I suppose?
First of all, how do you play becoming the Book of Life? That was one of those things that I said to the director, wow, this is probably one of the most challenging things I've ever had to do. How do I become the history of thousands of creatures? And the pages of the book are made up from creature skin, and the history and the complexities and the colors of all these experiences of these creatures from all over the world, and she becomes that. But I think it's about, she holds the balance, really, about bringing them all together, and I think she personifies just the inherent need for togetherness. And I think that's really what this is all about, is all the experiences from the many shades, the many colors, they all come together within her. And it's about expressing just our absolute, it's this potent need to be together. Together we are stronger. So yeah, that was just always very funny to play those scenes. We came up with this idea that I would sort of oscillate between being here in Diana's body and then sort of being immersed and lost in this other world, and exploring the Book of Life. She kept on having to move in and out of those two different realms, and it was quite a complex and exciting thing to play as well. I've never had the opportunity to do something like that.
I can imagine. And I just want to really quickly talk about something that happens in the final episode. Again, spoilers for those who haven't seen it, but the scene where we see Benjamin Fuchs, played by Jacob Ifan, get killed by Diana is so raw. We see her sort of using her power to defeat evil, but the conflict of that is that she is having to kill another creature. So how does she measure and control her power?
Yeah, look, I think it's very instinctual. I think for her, it has been instinctual her whole time as a witch, and it's a feeling thing. And in my opinion, I think Benjamin, he's too far gone. I think when you look at the scene directly prior with Satu, there's a real juxtaposition between how she handles being with Marlon or Satu and the two women, and what that conflict looks like, compared to a few minutes later, the violence and what is needed to bring someone like Benjamin down. So it is measured. I think she very much has a plan on how these things should unfold. And when she's in that room with Satu, it's actually about communication and a mutual understanding and an appreciation in some form of what Satu has been going through. I think she can see some of the conflict in Satu and understand what it is she's having to go through. And then she moves into Benjamin. And then that takes a certain kind of power, and it's completely, it comes from within her. It's absolutely everything she's been working towards. And she knows that it's going to take all of her to bring this type of person down. And it was exciting because I got to deal with all the different knots, and there are so many of them, and it's really like choreography, and you learn from knot 1 through to knot 10. And luckily we had a nice chunk of time to film that particular part, because there's just so much that goes into it. And luckily I had this beautiful choreographer, Sarah Perry. She was my movement coach, my magic coach, and she walked me through all of that.
We have got so many questions from fans, and I want to get to them as soon as possible. But just really briefly, we kind of need to talk about the show ending and that incredible sort of Dinah facing the congregation and revealing an important truth. So let's take a look at that.
The truth is in here. In the Book of Life.
Found it. The witch's lost book of spells.
The vampire's lost history.
It belongs to all of us.
I smell death.
The pages are made from creature skin. Vampires, witches, demons.
The pages are empty. What have you done to it?
I am the Book of Life.
You have bewitched it.
It was bewitched long ago. I just opened. Vampires, demons, witches, and humans are all related. All branches on the same tree. Our family histories written in the book. Our genetic profiles tell us the same story, that each member of the congregation here is related to one another.
So, Teresa, remind us briefly what that revelation means, the impact that it's going to have in this world.
Look, I think it's so shocking in many ways, because no one is expecting that. And what I love about this scene is that Diana doesn't really rely on her magical powers so much as the power of her words. And it is togetherness, the fact that we are all related to one another, and there's been so much separatism, so much conflict between species, that actually the answer is in something more simple than that, which is coming together. We just have to be there with one another. And I think it's just a beautiful life lesson in general anyway, that we are always going to be better together. And yeah, I love that sequence of events. I think Gebert really, it's quite an awakening for him. I like that he's taken down in the way he is without violence. And the fact that he Diana gets to have her day in court, and it's this incredible revelation that, in fact, we've been doing it wrong for so many years. And it's as simple as actually figuring out ways in which we can all coexist. And that's really the heartbeat of this story. So I loved it. I thought it was just such
And also
a
having
brilliant
the
scene.
having the demons sort of have their moment, have that,
I know.
validation after so many years.
I know, and I think they've been overlooked for so many years. And you hear throughout the seasons, you hear Agatha talking about this and the isolating experience of the demons, and now no one understands them. And now I love how we pass it over to her, and she gets to lead us into this next season of our existence, which is so beautiful. And she's absolutely the perfect person to take us there. And she's fair and kind and such a strong, fierce leader. So, and actually one of my favorite moments is when we shot that scene, was Tanya Moody's just beautiful reaction as Agatha when she learns this news that she's going to be the head. It was just this gorgeous, raw exhilaration, this excitement, and the way she played that on her face, it was one of the most pure, authentic moments for me in the scene, is that elation. And it's very moving. I think it's just an incredibly moving scene.
I loved that scene as well so much. And Teresa, thank you so much for sharing Diana with us. It's obvious that she holds a really special place in your heart. We are going to audience questions next. We've had so many come in. I'm going to beg our wonderful cast to stay with us just a little bit longer, if that's okay. I know we're running over, but we do want to hear from the fans as much as possible. We have a question here from Lachlan saying, do you know if you'll be doing any future series or spin-offs? It's a good one.
It's a cracker. I mean, look, first and foremost, we were making the trilogy of Discovery Witches. So, we really focused on it being a self-contained series with a very clear kind of beginning and a middle and an end. But as you probably know, this is not the end of Deb's writing. There's other novels there, tackling familiar new characters and different time frames. So you're going to have to watch this space. But if I tell you any more, Diana, I might have to cast a witch wind, or look what I've got.
Oh, look! Oh, my goodness. Peter.
That's what happened to it when it was lying on the airfield and it was just sitting there. So it's perfect for the producer's arsenal.
It's brilliant. Valerie, what is M up to in the afterlife?
What is M? Keeping an eye on Sarah. making sure that she's happy, but of course just making sure all her loved ones are safe and secure, no madness going on, because she'll come down and haunt you.
Owen, well, I know the answer to this. Did you get to keep the Petrosphere? No,
Oh, no.
It doesn't look like you did.
I didn't get the book. I didn't get the Petrosphere. I didn't even get a glass of wine from Gilbert.
Absolutely rubbish. You got really done over there.
Yeah.
So what was your favourite prop or costume during filming? And I think that one's to Alex.
Oh my gosh. I would say probably my favourite part of the costume was my Birkenstocks and home knitted socks, which a little bit like Gerbert wanting the Pope's red socks. My socks, I always imagined, had been only ever knitted by M. And so I got the costume designer, the last costume designer we had, her mother knitted me some socks, which I have actually kept.
That's amazing. I was not expecting so much sock-related trivia this evening, but I'm absolutely here for it. Teresa, can you talk about how you came up with the movements for the spells, and do you find it difficult to remember the choreography? All those knots.
Yeah, I had a great coach actually. I call her my magic coach, Sarah Perry. And it was like learning a dance. So I had printouts and we talked about the shape of the knots and the little bows, and each one was very intricate and detailed. And so she would say to me, much like learning a second language, you have to go home and you have to practice. So I would be at home with my kids, sitting on the couch, doing my little knots. And my son Bodhi actually helped me learn them, which was really sweet. And then Sarah brought in physical knots as well. So some of them were very detailed, like knot of 7 and knot of 8 were really intricate. And there was certainly a path that I needed to take. So Sarah would actually build the knot so I could see what it looked like. And then that's what I'm visualizing as I'm doing it. But it was really challenging. And the good news is that I was the only one that knew what the knots were meant to look like besides Sarah. So on the day, if I messed up, I would just sort of do something and everyone's like, oh, wow, yeah, that looks really great. But I knew that I had messed up one of my knots. So it was a really interesting experience.
One for Trevor. What was your inspiration to become Jabert? If you took anyone, if you took any, was there any one person?
Yeah, I think Lachlan, really. When I met Lachlan, I realized that he was, a still cold-hearted sort of killer, and I modeled myself on him, really, from day one.
You know me so well, Trevor. No, so well.
And to Owen, what drew you to play such an evil character?
I think is that to me? Sorry, was that for me? I think it's the fact that you always just want to play the opposite of what you are.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for answering that for me. Yes.
It was a real challenge to get into that.
I couldn't have put it better myself.
Yeah, thanks, Owen. Love you.
We've got one last question for Stephen. Sorry, we're having to rush through these. Any favourite lines or scenes while playing Gallowglass?
Favourite lines. I think I love the fact that he said "auntie." It's not a line. It's just a word. But I actually think one of my favourite scenes was a scene that I didn't speak in, but in an episode 7, I think maybe of season 2, it was when we're in Prague, and Diana is there with Rudolph, and she transforms she transforms something into a snake, and myself and Matthew are just watching on. I just loved that scene. Teresa and Michael were so brilliant in it, and the set design and the props and everything that was going on. It was an incredible scene just to be in and get to kind of be a part of without having to learn any lines for it.
Thank you so much for everybody's questions. I'm really sorry that we weren't able to get through more, but I thought you'd like one last treat before we have to go. I have in my possession some clips of our upstanding and very professional cast hard at work on set, or at least trying to work hard. Let's take a look at this.
247, take 2.
Take
1, take 1.
Hello, everyone watching. It's Russia. This is going to be awesome.
Realism is out the window.
Fetch Gallowglass.
It would take hours to... Oh, you're right.
I'm supposed to do that stumble.
Oh, God.
Oh, ghost.
Don't worry, Jack, I'm on this.
Oh, no, you're not.
I love this cape. Why?
It's flying. That's crazy.
Careful.
Got on the line.
Classic.
The bounds. Should we just wait until they're past?
Okay.
It's not what I wanted to say.
It's good, though.
Miss Stamford. No, what's her name? Samston.
Refer to her as Agnes. Just Agnes.
No, that'll make us laugh. Agnes Sampson. Is it Sampson?
It is, yeah. Oh, what if you just have another line?
I'm allergic to blood.
What the f*** is that noise?
No,
That was quite amusing.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark. Nice to see you. Take me.
Master Marlowe has sent for some.
Who was that?
Why are you laughing?
That was so lovely.
Matthew's part really got me.
So much dancing as well from Teresa.
So much dancing. Oh my goodness.
I am afraid that we are out of time. Thank you so much to our amazing cast, I know, who've joined us for this virtual event. You have all been absolutely fantastic and so generous with your answers. And you, the fans at home, thank you for watching the show and for tuning in tonight. You'll be pleased to know that all 3 series of A Discovery of Witches are available to binge watch again and again and again on Sky Max and Now. And for those of you in the UK who are tuning in weekly, the final episode of Series 3 will be on Sky Max and Now tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Thank you again for watching. This is me, Rihanna Dillon, and the cast from A Discovery of Witches saying good night.
Thank you.
Good
Thanks,
night.
guys. Thanks to all the amazing
Rihanna.
fans. Mwah.
Well done.
Bye. Bye.